Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ken Caryl Concert's Baroque Masterpieces. I'm Kristen Zaluzniak. This is our first time live streaming a concert, and we're so delighted to have some people joining us here on Zoom. We also hope that this is going to be recorded, and if you want to come back and listen again, you're welcome to. As is our tradition here with our concerts, we'd like everyone to just join us for a short word of prayer before we begin. Dear Lord, thank you for gathering us together this evening in faith and in music. Bless those who are performing this evening and all who are watching from home. In your name, amen. So Ken Caryl Concert started almost 5 years ago. We've had some fabulous concerts in this room with lots of people. Tonight we have a very small group of performers. And it's a little strange, but we have a wonderful concert for you. It's all about the Baroque period. I'm going to give you a little background on the Baroque period in case you don't know much about it. The term Baroque has been widely used since the 19th century to describe art and music created in Western Europe between 1600 and 1750. In addition to producing the earliest European music written by composers familiar to us, like Bach, Handel, Pachelbel, and Vivaldi, the Baroque period greatly expanded the world's horizons with theories and discoveries made by Copernicus, Galileo, and Descartes. Writers and artists like Shakespeare, Rubens, and Rembrandt also offered unique views of the world through their creations. As European nations grew more involved in foreign trade and colonization, musicians and composers were offered the opportunity to travel in between countries and share ideas and influences. Some of the best-known composers of the Baroque period are the Italians, Monteverdi, Corelli, Scarlatti, and Vivaldi, the French, Couperin, Lully, Charpentier, and Rameau, the Germans, Praetorius, Bach, Telemann, Handel, and Schütz, and the English, Purcell. Throughout much of the period, most of these composers only earned a living writing music if they worked for the church or for the government, and they didn't always write works out of their own personal creative inspiration. That being said, Baroque composers showed great artistry by seeking to imitate the ancient Greeks and Romans and expand upon their ideas. There was a great desire to show contrast in dynamics and instrumentation as a dramatic element of Baroque music. Composers experimented with different instrumental sounds and combinations of instruments, like the trumpet and the violin, which grew in popularity during the period. The voice was also an important instrument that was further developed and highlighted. Opera, oratorio, and cantata works dominated the Baroque era, as well as sonatas, concertos, and suites. Our performers this evening have selected some of their favorite pieces from the Baroque period to share with you, and we hope you enjoy. Our first piece is played on our organ by Brian Schwan. It's the Prelude and Fugue and Chaconne in C major by Dietrich Buxtehude. Buxtehude was a truly inventive and imaginative composer in an era often marked by solid workmanlike technique devoid of any inspiration. This wealth of expression made a profound impression on the young Johann Sebastian Bach, who in 1705 journeyed 200 miles on foot to hear Buxtehude's music and remained for 4 months. Thereafter, Bach seems to have been determined to employ this expressive potential in his own church works. One of Buxtehude's most frequently played organ works is this prelude, Fugue and Chaconne, and it was preserved in a collection of works copied by Johann Christoph Bach. The prelude is remarkable for its form, featuring an extended pedal solo at the opening. Our next piece is performed by Don Williams, trumpet, and Brian Schwann on the organ. It's the prelude to Te Deum by Marc-Antoine Charpentier. He was, next to Lully, the most remarkable figure in late 17th century French musical life, with a prolific output of sacred and secular music. The Te Deum, which dates from about 1692, was probably written for the great Jesuit church of St. Paul in Rue Saint-Antoine, where he was maître de musique. Its brilliance and powerful dramatic impact suggest that it must have been written in celebration of some special occasion, such as the recent French victory at Steinkirk on August 3rd, 1692. We now welcome our bell choir, St. Philip Ringing Brass, to perform a Canon of Grace. This is an arrangement of Johann Pachelbel's Canon in D, which is a Baroque piece, and Amazing Grace, which is not. It's arranged by Linda R. Lamb. Little history on the Canon in D, which if you don't know it by name, you will know it when you hear it. There's neither the date nor the circumstances of this composition are known, and the oldest surviving manuscript copy of the piece dates from the 19th century, though presumably popular during Pachelbel's lifetime. The piece went out of style and remained in obscurity for centuries. A 1968 arrangement and recording of it by Jean-François Palliard Chamber Orchestra gained popularity over the next decade, and in the 1970s, the piece began to be recorded by many ensembles. By the early 1980s, its presence as background music was deemed inescapable. From the 1970s onward, elements of the piece, especially its chord progression, were used in a variety of pop songs. And since the 1980s, it's also been used frequently in weddings and funeral ceremonies in the Western world. I will be joined in our next piece by Brian Schwann and Josh Keltner on the cello. This comes from Henry Purcell's opera Dido and Aeneas, and it's When I Am Laid in Earth, also known as Dido's Lament. The libretto is by Nahum Tate after Virgil's Aeneid. Although it incorporated Italian and French stylistic elements, Purcell was a uniquely English form, he used a uniquely English form of Baroque music. He's generally considered to be one of the greatest English composers. No later native-born English composer approached his fame until Edward Elgar, Ralph vaughan Williams, William Walton, and Benjamin Britten in the 20th century. Written for a girls' school in Chelsea, Dido and Aeneas is the first real opera in the English language. In the opera's concluding moments, Dido, Queen of Carthage, sings this great air, which is composed over a ground bass. She's discovered that the Trojan Aeneas has deserted her to pursue his destiny as the founder of Rome, and with her attendants about her, she prepares to mount her funeral pyre.
Oh,
Our next piece is performed on the piano by Brian Schwann, Les Cyclopes by Jean-Philippe Rameau. He was one of the most important French composers and music theorists of the 18th century. He replaced Jean-Baptiste Lully as the dominant composer of French opera and is also considered the leading French composer for the harpsichord in his time, alongside François Couperin. Les Cyclopes is the 8th piece from Rameau's Suite in D major, and the subject of the work is centered on the race of the one-eyed giants as portrayed in the Odyssey, an ancient Greek epic poem attributed to Homer. We'll welcome Josh Keltner up here to tell you a little bit about his piece, which is next.
Thanks, Kristen, and thanks for putting together this wonderful concert tonight. I'm going to play a couple of selections for you that are really near and dear to my heart. You should read the program notes. They're fantastic. But I'm going to give you a little bit more about what they mean to me as a performer. So there's a reason why Yo-Yo Ma can play these pieces now and still sell out Red Rocks, just him and his cello, right? It's amazing if you think about pieces written that long ago that are still so relevant today that you can sell out a concert venue with a guy and his cello. It's pretty amazing. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that Yo-Yo Ma is obviously a great player. Two, these pieces, they're great pieces and they have great depth. So one of the reasons for that is because there's a million ways to play them, right? So as an allegory, I want you to think about the different ways that you can say something that you feel strongly about. You can say it with great volume, but you can also say it softly. And think about, in the same way, think about things that make you unsure. You can say that with great agitation. You can also say it with great timidity. So if you put those concepts together, there's 1,000 different ways for you to express yourself, and there's 1,000 different ways for musicians to express themselves through Bach's music. The second reason, and what I'd like to focus on this evening while I play it, is because these reflect life so well. So there's a lot of different ways, but we're just going to focus on this one. And the way that they do that is that the chords that Bach chooses capture the way that we feel tension and relaxation. Think about how important that concept's been to you over the past 8 months, right? Tension and relaxation. So the technical term for this for music is creating anticipation and resolution. The music actually sounds like it gets more tense and then releases. So the first piece that does these pieces, there's two of them, and they're relatively short. They're just a couple of minutes each. The first one does it by creating excitement, and that's a lot of fun. The next piece, I think, is a little more apt for our times, and it does this by moving from periods of expansive calm and just a feeling of great relaxation to complex and deep tension, and then back again. It's really that simple, but if you're trying to capture it, it's something you can spend your entire life trying to do. The music actually makes me feel these deep, sense of relaxation followed by this tension, and then the joy you feel when you feel these things resolve. I hope you hear the same thing when I play it for you.
We have just a few more pieces to go. One of the things I say it at every concert, but one of the things I love about our series here is we started it with just a group of our musicians from the church, and we feed off of each other and we come up with ideas. And tonight's concert is actually all church musicians. That's it. We don't have any guests. Karen, I guess it was maybe 2 years, I don't know how long ago it was, she sent me a whole bunch of ideas of things we could do together, and this is one of them, the Quia Respexit from the Magnificat by Bach. It's arranged by Faith Winston. Bach's compositions include hundreds of cantatas, both sacred and secular. He composed Latin church music, passions, oratorios, and motets. And he often adopted Lutheran hymns, not only in his larger vocal works, but for instance also in his four-part chorales and his sacred songs. The text for the Magnificat comes from the Gospel of Luke, and the work was most typically sung at Vespers. Its first performance was in Leipzig in 1733. And Bach seems to have kept Luther's words in this work. Luther said, "God preached the gospel through music too." The text for this particular piece is, "For he has regarded the lowliness of his handmaiden. Behold, from henceforth I will be called blessed." music teacher in me would be remiss in noting that we were not able to include any Italian composers on this program, but that just means we'll have to have another Baroque program, I believe. Our final composer of the evening, we've got two pieces by G.F. Handel, who is one of the most well-known composers of the Baroque period. Behold, I tell you the mystery, the trumpet shall sound from the Messiah. Handel was a German, but later British, Baroque composer who spent the bulk of his career in London, becoming well known for his operas, oratorios, anthems, concerti grassi, and organ concertos. He received important training in Halle and worked as a composer in Hamburg in Italy before settling in London in 1712, and who became a naturalized British subject in 1727. He was strongly influenced both by the great composers of the Italian Baroque and by the Middle German polyphonic chorale tradition, and he'd become a huge influence on classical composers like Mozart and Beethoven. Handel composed his oratorio, The Messiah, in 1741 with a scriptural text compiled by Charles Jennens from the King James Bible and from the Coverdale Psalter, the version of the Psalms included with the Book of Common Prayer. It was first performed in Dublin on the 13th of April, 1742, and received its London premiere nearly a year later. After an initially modest public reception, the oratorio gained its popularity, eventually becoming one of the best known and most frequently performed choral works in Western music. And we have Quinn Silko on our baritone, and Don Williams on trumpet, and Josh Keltner cello, and Brian Schwan on piano for this piece.
Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. The trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised, incorruptible, and we shall be changed, and we shall be changed. The trumpet shall sound, the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed, and we shall be changed, and we shall be changed, we shall be changed, and we shall be changed, and we shall be changed, and we shall be changed, we shall be changed, and we shall be changed. We shall be changed.
I need a sip of water before. Sorry. The oratorio Samson was drafted actually while Handel was working simultaneously on the Messiah. Quinn and I didn't plan this, but we couldn't have planned it more perfectly that we're doing these. It's based on the poetry of John Milton, and it has brilliant arias with trumpet obligatos. This was standard practice for moments of grand ceremony and celebration in operas and oratorios during the Baroque period. Let the Bright Seraphim comes at the very end of Samson, just before the final chorus, and it's sung by an anonymous Israelite woman. It summons the celestial hosts of seraphim and cherubim to hail the dead hero, with trumpet figures responding to the singer. In the oratorio, the aria proceeds directly into the chorus after its contrasting section, but as an excerpt, which we will do tonight, it makes the full da capo return readily. For those of you who don't know what a da capo aria is, Quinn sang one as well, it has the main section and then one middle section that's usually a little bit slower, and then you return to the main section. And when you return to the main section, this is the bread and butter for singers who really get into this, because when you return to the main section, you can add all these extra little splashes of notes. And it is, Handel actually composed more than 1,000 da capo arias in his lifetime. For me as a singer, like I said, it's almost, this piece especially, is kind of like standing on that high dive, and I know it's going to feel great when I jump into that pool, but it's a little jittery about it. So without further ado, let the bright seraphim. It's been such a joy to perform with all of you tonight. First time for many of us in a long time performing something like this together. We certainly miss having the audience, but we love having this opportunity. If you would like, those of you who are Zooming in or listening to a recording, if you'd like to learn more about our concerts, you can visit our website. We are planning more concerts in 2021. February will be Songs of Hope and Peace. May, our 5th anniversary concert. It's been 5 years already. September, Songs for the Young and Young at Heart. And December, Holiday Hits. We'd like to thank the St. Philip Endowment Fund, which helps to support this series, and to all who've donated in the past. And I think that's about it, unless anybody has anything else? All right. Thank you. We hope everyone stays well and have a great evening.